advisors, and welcome to the October Advisor Town Hall. Please give me one moment while I share my screen before we begin. My name is Callia Thornton, and I serve as your current 2020-2021 District Governor, and I will be going over a few updates the district has to offer. So far, for our fall resources, we have released several fall resources that your club can use for service projects, fundraising, and more. First, with the Fall Espresso, our district editor recently released our quarterly publication with executive updates and club spotlights. The Kiwanis Family Relations Committee released How to Maximize Your Service booklet with Sustainable Service Project Planning. The Membership Growth and Reactivation Committee released a virtual engagement toolkit as a part of the 2020-2021 membership campaign with tips and tricks for icebreakers, service projects, fundraisers, meetings, and more. There's so many different opportunities, ideas within this toolkit, and I highly encourage you to check it out, especially if your club is struggling to host online meetings or they need new ideas for them. And finally, our district project committee released a fall fundraising guide similar to our summer fundraising guide with virtual and remote service projects and fundraising ideas specifically for the fall. All of these can be found at our website at pnwkeyclub.org and also our issue at issue.com/pnwkc. Moving on to some of our promotional videos, all that are located on the PNW Key Club YouTube. The Membership Growth and Reactivation Committee recently released how the PNW Key Club is staying active during COVID-19 in collaboration with the District Project Committee. That is basically a smaller version of the virtual engagement toolkit. So if you want to hear from some of our lieutenant governors and committee chairs about the specific ideas within these toolkits and fundraising guides, you can look at that video. We also have a Thirsty for Life video released by last year's District Project Committee specifically about our district project known as the Thirst Project, with different wells that we fundraised in the past and also our goals for the upcoming year. We also have well videos from the Moyeni region, specifically about the wells that we have funded in the Kingdom of Eswatini. We also have a Y Key Club video similar to the How PNW Key Club is staying active, just to focus on membership. We have our Key Club Day recordings and also webinar recordings. Moving on to the Pacific Northwest Opportunities Fund. So the PNWAF application provides an exclusive opportunity for individual dues paid members and chartered clubs in the Pacific Northwest to apply for grants to fund service projects that benefit local communities or fundraisers for the Thirst Project. So your club, if you apply, can earn up to $100 to $1,000 to cover 2/3 the cost of your service project. It does close Saturday, October 31st. So if you do want a chance to apply, please make sure to communicate with your club soon because it is closing. And if selected, you will be notified in mid-November. Some Thirst Project merchandise that we will be releasing in the month of November include a hoodie, bucket hat, crew neck, and sticker bundle, all designed by our District Project Committee and our District Editor. We took a poll on Instagram to find the most popular merchandise, and these were the ones that were selected. And the prices will be announced in November along with the release of them in the PNW Key Club shop on our website. Key Club Week is also approaching from November 2nd to November 6th. All information about Key Club Week and how to participate can be found on the Key Club International website and through the link below. Moving on to some resources released by Key Club International, we have several different meeting kits. They've committed to release 2 meeting kits each month, and so far in September, they've released a back to school kit, community needs kit, and in October about civic engagement and cyberbullying. So I encourage you to check those out. Moving on to biweekly updates. If you haven't already, please go and subscribe to biweekly updates. You can do so by going to our website, clicking on publications and biweekly updates. And if you ever miss them, you can always go to our website and they will be saved there. It has important information and resources about what the district is doing, what resources we're releasing, and of course, what webinars and opportunities we have to offer. Some ways you can stay connected. The PNW Key Club Instagram, we are constantly posting different opportunities, ideas, and spotlights. We have the website that has everything you could ever ask for if you ever have a question. And then, of course, like I mentioned, from all of our different publications, they can be found on our issue.com/PNWKC. I'll now hand it off to Brian Egger for the administrator update.
Good evening, Pacific Northwest Key Club advisors. Callia, thank you so much for that fantastic update. You never cease to impress me with your messaging to the advisors and to the district at large. Thank you so much. I want to kick off the administrator update this evening by talking a little bit about our Key Club Days, which ended with Canada Conference last weekend. Key Club Days, for those of you that don't know, refers to our virtual events that took place this year throughout the district to engage club members, club officers, and advisors. This year, every event was held virtually, but traditionally these events are held on a regional basis. As you can see on the slide that Callia has just advanced, we served about 650 key clubbers through our virtual fall events this year. And I know that would not have been possible without the efforts of many of you who help promote these events and make sure that your students attended. We did do a survey for each event and are currently evaluating the results from those surveys, and we'll plan on sharing those results with our district board in about 2 weeks, and we'll use the results of those surveys to further improve our Key Club Days in 2021, which will hopefully be held virtually. Callia, next slide, please. Wanted to also give you an update. We talked about this at our previous September Advisor Town Hall, but the PNW Key Club District Board is well underway in launching and developing its 2021 through 2026 strategic plan. You may recall from our last town hall, a special strategic planning committee was appointed by Callia and ultimately ratified by the district board to begin developing the strategic plan. The special committee includes a mix of current key clubbers, key club alumni, advisors, and an outside facilitator. The committee is being led by immediate past district governor Justin England from Division 32 Kentwood High School, and Wendy Frazier, who I believe is on the town hall tonight. Wendy is a longtime Kiwanian, past Circle K alumni, and is in Division 38. We also share the title of past Circle K International President, so I can't think of anyone better than Wendy to work with Justin and the committee to ensure we have a plan that will take Key Club into the future. A little bit about the methodology of the plan that we will be developing. The committee is using what's known as a SOAR framework to analyze the strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and results of PNW Key Club, and to then use the results that are garnered through that brainstorming and discussions to begin developing goals and objectives for the organization. Next slide, Callia. At its most recent meeting, just to give you a little sense of what the committee has accomplished so far, the committee reviewed an environmental scan that was conducted by the Kiwanis Youth Programs Board in Indianapolis that discussed several factors affecting Key Club today that were both relevant to the larger organization as well as specific districts at large, including reflections from current student leaders, alumni, members, and advisors. The committee is planning to hold its second meeting in November and is requesting feedback from the district board regarding a number of areas, including the member experience, in 2 weeks at our virtual fall board meeting. Ultimately, the results of the Special Strategic Planning Committee will be presented at the 71st Annual Pacific Northwest House of Delegates, which, as many of you know, is held in conjunction with our annual district convention. Next slide, please. Just to give you a little bit of sense of membership stats for the organization, we ended the year with 12,138 members and 307 clubs. As you know, our district and international dues have remained unchanged. $7 goes to Key Club International and $5.50 goes to the Pacific Northwest District to assist in the administrative costs of running the organization at both the international and district levels. Next slide, please, Callia. For 2021 dues, the early bird deadline, I am proud to announce, has been extended by Key Club International. For those of you that were recipients or have had a chance to review the most recent edition of the Espresso, the fall edition, you may have noted it was announced that the early bird deadline has been extended by Key Club International to December 1st. In addition to the deadline being extended in light of the challenges related to dues collection and the COVID-19 pandemic, Key Club International announced a number of incentives to encourage clubs to submit their dues by December 1st. Those are identified on this slide, but they include a Kiwanis Warehouse gift certificate, a complimentary hotel room to the 2021 Key Club International Convention in Florida, and surprise prizes throughout the early bird dues period. I want to clarify that paying your dues by December 1st does not entitle you to these prizes, but rather enters your clubs into a drawing that will ultimately determine who is awarded these prizes. At our September Advisor Town Hall, we talked a little bit about the options that clubs could consider to ensure dues can be submitted. And I know that there were several questions about that. If you have additional questions related to dues collections and strategies you might consider, please consider asking those during the Q&A portion of tonight's program, or of course you can submit them to me at administrator@pnwkeyclub.org, and we'll be sure to respond to you. Next slide. In addition to dues collection, I did want to make everyone aware that International acknowledges that some key clubs have been unable to meet as a result of the pandemic because of school district restrictions on school activities, including school-based clubs that would affect Key Club. As a result of that, a special status has been created that will ensure that club is not suspended and not placed in good standing by the organization. Currently, we have about 20 clubs that have indicated that their school district will not permit any school-based club to meet, including Key Club, until hybrid or in-person learning resumes. And we have notified those clubs and ensured that their status has been updated accordingly. Next slide. A little bit more about DCON. DCON is currently scheduled for March 26th through the 28th, 2021. It was supposed to be in Seattle, Washington. At this point, as we talked about at the September Advisor Town Hall, we will plan on holding DCON virtually, primarily for two reasons. One, currently the Hyatt Regency Seattle and our other affiliated hotels in the Washington Convention Center is capped at having events no larger than 200 people. In addition to that, the governor's office and the King County Health Department have indicated with surges in recent COVID cases that limit will either be reduced or that it will not be increased in time for us to plan for an in-person event. And then obviously many of you are aware that most of our largest school systems throughout the district, including Seattle Public Schools, Portland Public Schools, Beaverton Public Schools, among others, have all announced that in-person learning will not resume until February at the earliest. As a result of that, the district has made the decision to proceed with a virtual DCON that will be held on those dates, March 26th through the 28th, and the registration will open next month. Next slide, please, Callia. Similar to Key Club Days, DCON 2021 registration will take place through the PNW Key Club shop. We want to make the registration process as seamless for everyone as possible. We received a lot of great feedback on how simple the form was for our Key Club Days programming. And as a result of that, we will use the Key Club shop in lieu of the traditional DLG system for DCON registration. The exact registration fee will be approved by the district board in 2 weeks, but we are expecting that to be $65. And what does that registration fee include? That will include each participant receiving the traditional convention swag, as we call it, the t-shirt, pin, lanyard, backpack program, and other convention materials to their house. It will also include access to all the speakers, workshop, and entertainment that the students come to expect from our event every year, and that they were unfortunately unable to experience during DCON 2020 due to the cancellation. And then finally, each club, as always, will be entitled to 2 voting delegates that must be registered with the convention in order to vote and represent their club in our House of Delegates. I will say that the District Convention Committee is well underway and not only leveraging the existing speakers, workshop presenters, entertainers in a virtual environment, but also looking for ways to further enhance the event since it will be held over a platform. And no, PNW Key Club will not be administering this event by itself. We'll be relying on our professional partners at PSAV to provide you the experience that many of you are familiar with and the students expect. So we hope that you will mark your calendars and still plan to join us as a registrant. And unlike prior years, I think this will be the first year that the DCON fee will be nominal compared to what normally, and hope our clubs will be able to participate. Next slide, please. And with that, I want to turn it over to our Q&A portion of the program. We wanted to maximize time for questions and answers that some of you may have about the content that I covered or the content Governor Callia presented earlier in the program. And so if you would like to unmute your mic to ask your question, you are welcome to do so. Or if you're not comfortable doing so, or it's easier, feel free to pop it in the chat and one of us will make sure that your question is answered.
Brian, Dennis Sherwin, Division 18.
Hi, Dennis.
Just a quick question. The registration fee of $65 for DCON, will that be also Canadian at par?
Just like prior years, Dennis, we don't do at par registration for Key Club. Our systems just aren't processed to do that. And so all of the Canadian Key Clubs are familiar with paying in the US denomination.
So we're looking at about $120 then, is that correct?
That would be correct. The Canadian fee would be $120, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Brian, if I may. Lonnie Johnson.
Yes, Lonnie.
I'm Lonnie Johnson, Division 82 advisor and district governor. A problem has come to my attention that Brian's been working very diligently on, and others. And that has to do with the number of advisors, Kiwanis advisors, that do not have a criminal background check. Now, I realize that Canada's different and they're not amongst those, but we're still looking at 305 clubs. We still have roughly 40 that don't have their background checks. And from my perspective, we're here to protect these kids. And I'm sorry, you're not really kids, but you understand what I'm saying. We're here to protect key clubbers. And we have to be able to show them, and they have to be able to understand that we are protecting them by doing our background checks. I just want to point that out. And we need to get that number down to 0 in the district.
Appreciate that, Lonnie, so much. And thank you for your leadership in contacting and working with those Kiwanis clubs that have been resistant to have their advisors complete those checks. Many of you may be aware that Kiwanis International actually has suspended the status of your Key Club advisors if they lacked a completed background check by Kiwanis International. So if you became aware of that through your club secretary who informed you that suddenly the Kiwanis advisor was no longer listed on the dashboard, that was action taken by the Kiwanis International Board and the General Counsel, which resulted in your advisor being removed. as an advisor until such time they have a background check. So as Lonnie said, we would really appreciate your assistance if you're in doubt about the status of your background check. If you are a user of the Quantus Connect system, then you should be able to log in and see the exact expiration date of your background check. If you are unsure about the status of your background check, email backgroundchecks@quantus.org. And a member of the risk management team and youth protection team will get back to you to confirm the status of your background check. In theory, everyone should be receiving a notification at least 3 months prior to the expiration of the background check. I'm not going to say that there aren't often issues with emails from Quantus International being caught in spam filters, but in theory, you should have received notification that your background check was up for renewal. I see a question here in the chat about how we receive notice for these types of meetings. We have both our district biweekly email system that Callia mentioned earlier in the meeting. I'm going to go ahead and send you the link to be able to sign up to receive those biweekly updates. If you're not doing so, it just appeared in the chat. It's off the main page of our website. We also have what we call our advisor Google groups, one for faculty advisors, one for Quantus advisors. If you are not familiar with ever getting an email through Google groups, it probably means you're not a part of those groups. So if you could email administrator@pnwkeyclub.org, that we can make sure that you are added to those advisor Google groups and that you're able to receive updates accordingly about district news and upcoming meetings, including the town hall. There was a question too about how many years are a background check valid. Background checks are good for 2 years. These background checks are conducted by Safe Hiring Solutions, which is the official contractor of Quantus International to conduct these checks. No other entity may conduct a check on behalf of Quantus International, unless, of course, you are a citizen of another country. For example, our Canadians' background checks are done through the RCMP, and the RCMP will then work with Quantus International to verify the status of your background check. For DCON, there was a question about do we need to have a faculty advisor and a Quantus advisor attending along with our students? So I'll answer that question first. So given that this is a virtual event and the district administrative team, which includes about 25 plus adults, will be on this event throughout the duration. We are not going to require chaperones in the same way that we would for students that are participating in person and where there's overnight accommodations. But we would still welcome you to attend and hope you will attend. We know many advisors look forward to the programming, and we will have workshops as well as some activities for advisors as well. So it won't be just student activities available to you. If you're not interested in receiving the DCON swag, will there be a reduced fee? That is an option that is being considered by the district board. To date, the students feel pretty passionate that everyone wants to receive the t-shirt and the usual goodie items that everyone receives. And so in order for us to do that, we have to allocate $15 to $20 to cover the cost of postage to get those to everyone using a traceable means, but we will certainly take that comment under advisement as we finalize the fees before opening registration. Someone actually asked about the fee for the background checks and could we send them a link for their background check? Unfortunately, we do not control the links for background checks. Those are generated by Quantus International, and they're actually tied to your Quantus member ID. If you do not know where your link is, or you never got an email telling you that you needed to renew your background check, but you know that it is expired, as Mike Wallace, our finance administrator, indicated in the chat, you would email backgroundchecks@quantus.org. And they will be able to assist you in getting the link that's specific to you. I see a question here regarding from Clara Many Key Clubbers haven't been able to access the membership update center. They can still log in with the old login info, but don't see a way to update their names or pay. To log into the membership update center, that's actually only available to the Key Club faculty advisor, Kiwanis advisor, or the Key Club secretary that is on file with Kiwanis International. No one else can actually log into the MUC on behalf of a Key Club. And if you do not know your username and password, then you would contact Kiwanis by calling 1-800-Kiwanis or emailing member services to have your password reset so that you can access your system. To access your club's record, excuse me. And then once you access your club's record, you would then be able to add or remove Key Clubbers before generating an invoice for payment. Payment can be done by credit card or it can be done through check, but the system is what generates the invoice. Again, if you get stuck, member services at Kiwanis.org or a member of our adult team or even your Key Club Lieutenant Governor may be able to assist you. The question continued, is the information automatically transferred to the new advisor? Unfortunately, it's not. In many cases, we don't know that a new advisor has been selected by a Kiwanis Club or by the school until that update is made at Kiwanis International, unless we are told by a person directly. So you would need to email member services and make sure that your Kiwanis advisor and faculty advisor are correct. And that, again, that's the only way you can access the payment system. There was another question about background checks for Kiwanis advisors. Since school districts conduct their own checks for faculty advisors and teachers. So the official company line on this is yes, if your faculty advisor is not participating in Key Club events off campus, including overnight events that may be sponsored by Key Club, then they would not need a background check conducted and verified by Kiwanis International. However, if they did attend district convention and were chaperoning your students overnight, then they would need a background check. And thankfully this year, we won't have to undergo that process, which I know can be quite laborious for some people.
Actually, it's a bit of a pain because most of the school districts here require the Kiwanis advisors to have a check done for the school too, but that's on a 3-year cycle.
Yeah, thanks for that, Bill. And similarly, I know most of our advisors here, especially those working with the larger school systems, also have to have the school district's background check completed before they can enter the school building or before they can officially engage with the students. And I totally get what appears to be a duplication of effort. Unfortunately, what's happened here is that because there's so much variation, at least in the US, unlike the Canadians who are a bit wiser, in my opinion, and have one entity do background checks, each school district has its own background check provider or protocol. And so therefore, there is no way to ensure that every single advisor is being subject to the same check. And so therefore, our insurance provider, the Highland Group for Kiwanis International, and our general counsel had to revise the policy so that officially anyone who is getting a verification or a background check, it has to be done through the Kiwanis International provider so they can ensure there is some consistency. Again, there is the exception for our Canadians given how their government laws are written regarding these sorts of matters.
But Brian, one thing that's really nice is that at least in my area, there are about 3 or 4 school districts. I've had to do a couple of different background checks with different school districts, and I've been very lucky. None of them have charged me a penny for their background check. So that's a good thing. Not having to pay for another background check.
Yeah, I would hope not.
You add up sometimes.
I would hope they wouldn't be, considering you're volunteering your time, and I hope we get to a place where we don't have to charge individuals in Kiwanis to get background checks either, but that's above my pay grade.
I'm okay with paying the $25. I think it's a valuable resource that we need to have to protect our kids, because we're not just, involved in Key Club. We might be in Builders in Key Club, and we might be in K Kids. So it covers us for all those areas as well,
It's a very good point, CM. So if you are an advisor to another service leadership program, you don't have to get the Kiwanis background check 2 or 3 or 4 times in some cases. Once you get the check, you're good to support any Kiwanis affiliated program. And so it is kind of a one-stop shop. There was a question regarding the DCON swag. So as many of you know, the DCON was canceled about 5 weeks prior to the convention. And so we have ample lanyards, bags, t-shirts, etc. that are waiting for attendees. And obviously the theme was never officially launched since the convention was canceled. And so all of that, all the apparel and all those items will be what goes in the mailing to each attendee.
For the new year. Okay. Are there years on the t-shirts?
So there is a year on the t-shirt. Unfortunately, I don't know that we can justify just environmentally reprinting 2,000 plus t-shirts. It will be, I guess it'll be an anomaly, but hopefully it will be a cool memento, since to my knowledge, this was the first year that DCON had ever been canceled, although a pandemic only happens every 100 years in theory as well. So
it's been longer than that, so that's good too.
Brian, this is Nicholas from Division 63. Question. Hi, Brian. Question, the background check, people usually ask, does it go from October to September, or does it go from the time you take it to 2 years from there?
Oh, that's a good question, Nicholas. So the background check is 2 years from the date in which you receive notification from Kiwanis International that it's cleared. If we've missed a question in the chat, or I've missed a question in the chat, feel free to post it again, or feel free to unmute your microphone. I want to make sure that everyone's questions were answered. You're also welcome, of course, to direct any questions to Governor Callia if you have any questions related to student perspectives or other things that she covered.
Hi, Brian. This is Susie Meyer, Lieutenant Governor, Division 63.
Hi.
Hi. Unfortunately, I apologize for being a little late, and you may have talked about this, and if so, I apologize for the repeat question, but you're talking about a lot about background checks, and I understand that it is a requirement for us to watch the emeritus videos this year, and that then they're good for 2 years. Is that correct?
So Presidium, yes. So I think there may be some confusion about what exactly these videos are called, but thank you for that, Susie. I didn't want to add any additional complexity, but since you asked, so Presidium is a contractor that Kiwanis International is working with to develop some additional educational material for Kiwanis advisors and faculty advisors at this point, if they're interested. There is a separate login name and password that advisors should receive that would allow them to complete that training. Right now, even though technically that training is part of the policy of Kiwanis International, we are not full-fledged in enforcing completion of those training modules, but you are correct, Susie. Eventually, we are going to get to a place where, in addition to the background checks, everyone who has a background check also will need to do that training through Presidium.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Seems like there was another question here about background checks. So so just to reiterate, I know that several of you have background checks through other organizations. It could be a school district. In this case, it could be the Archdiocese. It could be even myself. I work for the federal government and have a top secret clearance. So I have a background check too, right? But it's not good for Kiwanis International. And again, that has to do with the fact that Kiwanis needs to ensure that everyone's check is done to the same standard. required. So unfortunately, it doesn't matter who conducted your check unless it's the authorized provider by Kiwanis, which is Safe Hiring Solutions. Any other questions? Seems like there was a lot of information, questions about background checks tonight. And we will make sure that we re-forward maybe some of the FAQs and some of the written material to supplement some of the comments and answers that were provided to the questions tonight. It sounds like it's something folks still would like some clarity on. So we're happy to make that available.
I have a question. This is the first time I've attended this, and I'm sure this has been going on for a while. I'm very happy to be here. I've learned a lot tonight. That's why I asked, how can I get information about these meetings? So I'm not sure everybody knows about these meetings.
I agree with you, Jenny. I think that a lot of people don't. And to be fair, I think with COVID, this is the first time that we've been doing them consistently on a monthly basis. And part of that was just to better engage advisors and also provide a little bit more community in a place that can, in a time that can be otherwise isolating. So we certainly would appreciate you forwarding when you get the notification to other people in your division or other advisors that you may work with. It's not a restricted link, especially since the audience is not minors. You're welcome to forward it to anyone who has a purpose with the Kiwanis family, I guess I'd say.
Okay, thank you. I will.
So another question regarding background checks for Canada and the US. So again, Kiwanis advisors in Canada are required to have a background check that's conducted by and verified by Kiwanis International. The process is a little bit different for you again, because of who conducts your background checks on behalf of the Canadian government. And so that process is a little bit different. So rather than create confusion for the non-Canadians on the call, you're welcome to email me directly and I can put you in the right place. But if all else fails, simply email memberservices@kiwanis.org or backgroundchecks@kiwanis.org, and they can make sure that as a Canadian, you're able to comply with the check policy.
Brian, Beverly Triplet here.
Hi, Beverly. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Brian.
Good.
So to go back to the distribution list for this, if an advisor did not get the message for the town hall, where should they send their information to make sure they get the next notification? To you?
So if they can email administrator@pnwkeyclub.org, I will verify that they are a member of our advisor email list, which is a Google group. I would also say, Beverly, if in that vein, if they're saying they're not getting anything from Kiwanis International or Key Club International, I would really encourage them to verify by contacting Kiwanis that they have the correct information for them.
Okay.
We were made aware recently that several advisors have, I guess, unintentionally opted out from receiving Kiwanis's messages. So I think in their attempt to no longer get messages about shopping in the Kiwanis family store, for example, they have opted out and thereby now deleted their subscription to all messages from Key Club and Kiwanis International. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop in a link in the chat that anyone can click. And if you click that, you can then resubscribe yourself to make sure you're receiving the updates that you want. Please make sure you click the box Key Club International, because that, in doing that, it will ensure that you get the international messages as well.
Okay. I'm not sure the other advisors in our club are getting these messages. So, okay, thanks, Brian.
Yep. Someone pointed a good point here. I made a good point in the chat here about school spam filters. And that's, I know we have some faculty advisors on the call. Angela Brule, who's on our committee, is also a faculty advisor. And I know that any of the .edu addresses can be really temperamental about that. Unfortunately, we can't do anything at the district level or probably even at the international level to fix that. But what I would suggest is providing maybe an alternate email to us or to Kiwanis International, and then you can make sure that you get those messages if they are getting blocked in your filter. It looks like here also a good suggestion in the chat here. Your IT department at your school system probably can help you get those messages unblocked as well. There was a question about the frequency of these meetings. So this is our second. We did one in September. We obviously are doing one in October since we're here. I think given the holiday season and given just the school schedules or not, we'll do a combined November, December, but then we'll pick up again with one in January. At least that's the plan.
Brian, this is CM from Division 66. So are we planning on doing the same week of every month? Like this is the last week of the month, or are you going to move them around?
So that's a good question, CM. So I think what has been happened to date is, for those of you that have been tuning in a lot, there's been a lot of virtual programs being hosted by Callia and her team this year, not to mention the district board committees. And so we've tried to squeeze the advisor, not squeeze them in, we've tried to schedule the advisor town hall to not conflict with those virtual programs. Yeah. And so that's why the date has moved. And if people would prefer us to fix it on a certain date, the third or fourth week of the month, I'm open to that. But I also wondered if by moving it around, maybe we're capturing more people as long as they have advance notice.
I think the advance notice is good because you give us at least 2 or 3 weeks advance notice for this meeting. And I have to say, I really appreciate that because it puts it on my calendar early. And, as I get closer, I see it coming and I know that I've got to be here for this meeting. Sure.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm glad that works for you. That's sort of my thinking too. Did anybody else have questions or comments? I know some people just joined a little bit late. Again, I think Mike had indicated that we can share a link to this recording to all advisors, and we'll send that out for those that were unable to participate live tonight.
There's a new question on there, Brian.
Okay. There was a question regarding area administrators. And so obviously during a time of COVID, the ability to need area administrators to chaperone events has essentially been kind of nixed in that we haven't been hosting in-person events. And so for the areas that we are in need of area administrators, it's especially needed in the Corvallis, Eugene, Medford areas. We do have one area administrator, Jeannie Walcher, who is out of Ashland and is really covering the entire Southern Oregon region. And so we would certainly benefit from having another area administrator, ideally in the Eugene area, to kind of bridge that gap. If there are no, and I see here from Susie Meyer, also have your LTG spread the word through their divisions clubs. Yes, if you don't have a working relationship or you aren't familiar with who your key club lieutenant governor is, the easiest thing to do is to simply email them. And you don't have to know their email because all the emails in PNW Key Club are the same. If you know your division number, you would simply email LTG division number at pnwkeyclub.org, and it would connect you to your lieutenant governor for the year. So for example, if I wanted to be connected to the LTG in Callia's division, division 48, I would email ltg48@pnwkeyclub.org. And I've popped that in there just in case anyone missed it. So the same would go for area administrators, AA, 26, 27 at pnwkeyclub.org, again, AA, and that would connect you with the adult responsible for that area where Key Club is operating. And with that, unless there's anything else, I want to pause and say thank you for everyone coming tonight to our October Advisor Town Hall. I sincerely hope that you found it informative and found it helpful to you in your role as advisor. Callia and I certainly enjoy putting this together every year, and every month. And if you are not already subscribed to the different channels that Callia mentioned earlier tonight, our Instagram, among others, please make sure that you follow so that you can be aware of other event opportunities. And then, of course, if you're not getting the email messages directly from me, then please contact me and we'll make sure that you're put into the appropriate email group. And with that, I will give you the gift of time, and we'll look forward to seeing you for our November December Town Hall. So thank you very much, everyone. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.